Elden Ring. Should you play it? You decide. This game is incredible. It's something that I believe every player or an RPG fan has to try at least once. I'm not a major fan of Software's other projects like the Dark Souls series. Not it has never really resonated with me. However, in this one, I've put in almost 300 hours worth. Do note that I'm not going to show or spoil too much, as I want to leave that for you to discover. But one major component for me is the art style, the design, and the environmental aesthetic is just, if not aware, Software is a Japanese-based developer, and you can tell they were heavily influenced by 14th, 15th century romantic horror art, and with George R.R. Martin's story writing, his world-building lore, it creates this melting pot of grim yet surreal atmosphere, and it's absolutely captivating. The visuals are striking. You'll see a high fantasy, otherworldly place with deep, rich, seasonal colors, giving you a sense of life and bliss. And then take a few steps in another path, and it'll be complete the opposite. You know, just a void of joy, despair, darkness, and these two contrasting planes of existence coming together create something that is beautiful. These images are in, the blue painting-esque skies and the clouds, or moving towards the underground. You get this mystical aura, and even the gold shimmering earth tree in the distance. It all blends so well together, and it's something that photorealistic graphics can't always necessarily capture, and you absolutely really see Software's inspiration here, and it's as a gamer, it's something I think everyone should experience. Moving on to the root of the game, the actual gameplay, well, it's hard. And if you're not familiar with Software games, they can be a bit intimidating, and someone who is relatively new to them as well, it's something you will adapt to, but thankfully the developers add in some features that can really help you, and I'll touch on those in just a few. But the game is actually pretty well balanced, and it definitely has a bit of variety when it comes to play styles and classes, so there's a little bit of everything for everybody. One new mechanic they introduced was the use of a mount and a horse. Primarily, that's used for exploration as the world's very big, but at times you will have to use it in combat. As for ground combat, it's fun, it's intense, and at first I thought it was pretty unresponsive or there's a delay, but once you get adjusted, you get the hang of it, it really starts to flow well. Difficulty, this is going to be the most pulverizing part, and no pun intended, the most challenging to deal with. But Software did implement a new feature to kind of ease the difficulty for players. That is the use of summons, and if you're playing online, you can use co-op, whether it be a territory with many enemies or a boss. The summons act as an ally. There's a variety of them to complement whatever playstyle you have, and you can level them up. And this was just a great addition from Software. One of the biggest surprises is the scale of this world. When I first started playing, or about halfway, I thought the map was fully completed because you have to unlock it as you go. But it just kept expanding, and didn't stop. I don't want to show or say too much, as I want to leave it, for the players to discover this world on their own, because it's something absolutely memorable. There's plenty of diversity, interesting enemies, everything feels really well placed together. And the theme and OTS that is layered over these regions is it's some of my favorite soundtrack to music and video games. You can have the Serene Limgrave, and then heading eastwards, you eat this Dry Caelid. And so now the world can't be complete without the actual NPCs or the people, the residents that live within it. And the bosses, the villains, the NPCs, characters, they're all complex and a bit enigmatic. The story itself is pretty straightforward. You're very clear of what your goal is.
A tarnished of no renown, cross the fog to the lands between, to stand before the Elden Ring and become the Elden Lord.
Do know there is no map marker or the hand holding. So the guide's very subtle, and some may love this and some may hate it. But be aware, you might have to go online and find direct routes and whatnot. The side missions, don't feel like you're fully wasting your time. You're really not going to find a lot of just like filler BS. Everything does feel like it has a purpose, and in the end, create a lot of speculation, but really that's what the developers want. So lastly, the biggest reason, or the biggest takeaway I took from this game was the lesson that I learned. And funny enough, I play RPGs or games for, the sake of like player choice and story, and difficulty is something I don't always look for. And I don't enjoy raging or, feel like I'm driving myself insane, but there's something that I heard from the developers that made me question, kind of like revise my perspective on, was the idea of death and failure, but more as a lesson and something to grow and continue at. Not just like once you beat that enemy, right? You've been doing it tirelessly time and time again. It's not just a rush of dopamine you get, but you gain a sense of gratification and appreciation for the work that you invested. With all this being said, I hope this provided more insight, or at least piqued some more interest, as I highly suggest you checking it out. And if you're interested in the lore, I created this Morgoth, I'm sure I'll put it right here, this Morgoth video talking about one of my favorite characters in the game and kind of interpreting what he said. So check that out. I put a lot of work into it. Until then, like, subscribe, leave a comment, and thanks for watching. I will see you guys next time. Take care.